Hi, welcome to Eye Openers. I'm your host, Brittany Drozd, and each week I bring you insightful conversations with entrepreneurs that will help you make more money, become a strong leader, and build a business culture that you're proud of. Grab your coffee and let's dive in. Hello and welcome to Eye Openers. I'm so happy to have Bart with me today. How are you?
Good morning. Hey, good morning. Doing great.
Today on the show, we love to kick things off with talking about what is the liquid that is providing the eye-opening experience for you this morning. And as you guys know, my favorite thing in the world is my coffee. And I try to keep it fresh with different mugs of the day. And so today my mug is why not? And that's going to be my theme for how I go about today's interview. Why not? So we might throw you a few little side balls there and see where it goes. How about you? What's in your cup today?
Let's see, a little bulletproof coffee, a little bit of ghee,
nice.
And I get a little of that coconut brain tonic because that is the fuel that gets my brain going. Because you have to have that to really kind of, work from home, which I'm doing. But you got to have a little bit of jolt, to kind of get the adrenaline kickstarted. And, that's what does it for me.
So, Bart, for those of the people who don't know, can you tell them what bulletproof coffee is?
Yeah, bulletproof coffee is from Dave Asprey. It's a bulletproof movement. It's really not so much of a diet, but it is associated with the keto lifestyle. I've actually lost 108 pounds over the last year. Yeah, I was
a whole episode just on that. I'm so impressed by people who are able to do that. I mean, the level of discipline and lifestyle change and narrative change that has to happen to do that is it's so impressive.
It took 3 weeks to get the sugar out of your system and the craves for pizza, even whole grain Cheerios. I mean, the whole thing was really carbs and sugar. And when I started to realize that there were some things that I was doing that was creating chronic conditions for me. A quick digression. My doctor obviously said your A1C level is climbing. Mm-hmm. And I said, I gotta fix this. And I found that Dave Asprey made a lot of money when he sold his tech company. But he was also a big guy like me. And he had lost a great deal of weight by hacking, basically, his diet, his whole lifestyle. And he did things that nobody else was doing. So he started off with obviously the coffee and trying to put yourself into a state of ketosis, a healthy keto lifestyle. But to put ghee, butter, in your coffee, people go, oh, yuck. And I'm going, it's actually pretty creamy. And you put a scoop of, collagen protein, which he makes. And then basically a little bit of the MC8. It's kind of like the brain tonic. It's all basically medium chain triglycerides. It comes from pure coconut. And I can tell you that the difference it's made in my life has been able to keep up with the 30-year-olds and the 25-year-olds that work here. My brain is operating on a level that I have not seen since I was 30. And right now I'm a little over 50. And what's interesting is it's not just this. It's high fatty fish foods, a lot of saturated fats, nothing in a box, no macaroni and cheese, no McDonald's, no hamburgers, no sugar, and practically no alcohol. But when my doctor saw me again 7 months later, he said, Bart, you lost 68 pounds. What the hell are you doing? I said, well, what does the blood results say? He says, well, your A1C level is normal. You don't need to take any more statins. Stop taking the metformin. What are you doing? And I told him I'm on the bulletproof lifestyle. And he said, keep going. He said, your blood looks great. I'm throwing away all your medications. So I've been able to cure almost all my chronic conditions just through diet and moderate exercise. So
good for you. Thank
you.
Just the way that we live right now. And as a busy entrepreneur, right? I mean, we were on the phone yesterday and you were telling me you're working, into the evening, and it's really hard to also commit to our health, our mental health when you're on that journey of being an ambitious entrepreneur. So I'm excited for you that you made those changes.
Thank you.
So let's talk about who you are outside of Bulletproof Coffee, because I want the audience to understand the opportunity we have right here by having Bart Wilson on the phone. You gave me, I'll just read part of your bio here, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to fill in some of the blanks. So Bartley Wilson, as you can find him on LinkedIn, is recognized as an innovative leader by Entrepreneur Magazine in the 3D digital camera and virtual tour market. So you're the founder and CMO of Virtual Pictures Corp, or VPix, as you can look them up, and is recognized by Entrepreneur Magazine as the 214th best company in America. I mean, like, that's a huge, huge award. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
Are recognized as an innovative problem solver who consistently provides practical everyday uses for 3D imaging and immersive solutions in the real estate and automotive markets. You've successfully launched and sold 3 startups and are currently raising $5 million for VPix expansion.
Correct.
Super, super excited to have you on the show today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here. Yeah, thank you.
My first question is going to be, what did I miss? Because you had 2 pages of info. I can't keep the listeners waiting by just reading the 2 pages. But well, let's start with your story, right? You're a serial entrepreneur, loads of success. Like, what's your story? Let's hear it.
Well, I've had a lot of failures too, and I think the most important thing is you learn from them and you don't beat yourself up. I think you still have to have the dream, and I think for people, it has to be what you're passionate about. For me, it was about photography. My background goes many, many, many years back to Cape Kennedy in Florida when I was a kid. And my dad was working as a NASA contractor, and fascinating, obviously, for a little kid. My dad is an astronaut, but he gets to work with astronauts, kind of, sort of. And he had worked on the camera equipment. He had the motion picture processing equipment. So when the film was coming back down from Apollo, his company was manufacturing the slides, the large Cibachromes, the blow-ups. And I had a chance to meet all kinds of wonderful people from NASA and Air Force people with, stars and all kinds of things on their chest and medals. And it was a fascinating part that influenced me into science. So as I kind of grew up, my dad eventually brought us out to White Sands Missile Range, and he continued, doing some more technology things. And that's what really impressed upon me about choosing something that could be science. But, back in the 70s and 80s, there really wasn't anything like we have today. But after a few years in the Air Force and then getting out and then going to Eastman Kodak, that's when things really changed, because I was one of the people who helped bring the digital camera, to the photojournalism markets, including Kodak Photo CD. That's when your Mac or PC doesn't have a 4X drink holder anymore. So I have all these nice 6 gold discs on my wall that nobody uses. And Kodak said, we're going to have these things around for 100 years. Yeah, right. So things changed. But I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about, looking at technology that has a benefit to people and improving things that, we can use with technology. And for me, it was about starting with the photographic medium. Mm-hmm. So as I started teaching photography at RIT, I was teaching also once a year to a bunch of photojournalists that would come to a workshop. And we would teach people how to take their current camera. We would take it away from them. We would then give them a Kodak DCS camera. And I would say, Bob, there's no film. But see this? This is your film. Okay. You use your same lenses, use the same ISO settings, just go out and shoot the news. Got it? Got it. Only one question. What's that? Where's the film go? Bob, no film. Go. No film. So
it was hard for
we had
at first.
It was hard because, you had people who were journalists, and these people were doing the same job for 15, 18, 20 years. And I'm talking to people from New York's Newsday, Los Angeles Times, CNN, San Jose Mercury News, Miami Herald, and all salt of the earth, really fantastic people. But, technology was a little strange, back in the 90s, because we were trying to get to this digital revolution but you could still go to, Safeway or Publix Drugs and take your film canister and drop it off. And one of our Qualix labs would do your film, your processing of the prints, and you pick them up on Thursdays. But that was what kind of set me on the stage for saying, what else can we do, with digital photography? And that's where the next stepping stone for me was 360 virtual tours. And a couple years after I left Kodak, I started a few consulting, groups, but started seeing that real estate could benefit from, how do I see a house without really visiting the house? And video back around, 2000, we had little postage stamp videos. We didn't really have QuickTime virtual reality the way we have it today, but it was early, it was crude, and things started to get better. So as we kept seeing better cameras and more improvements come out, 360 cameras became of age. I went to Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh and hung out with some folks at the robotics lab. And a company was building some remarkable 360 technology there, but it was a mirror on a stick. And I thought this was pretty cool stuff. But by today's standards, it's 8-track tape stereo today. Nobody uses these things. So, we've been into the quantum leap from 20 years ago to
right.
what we have today.
Right. And so for you, it was just, you found this passion's interest, and you were able to stick with, what's next? What's the next layer of this? What's next? How will this be used? And you found niches for that you dove into to create those solutions.
Yeah, and it was really kind of a zigzag journey. I mean, it wasn't really a straight path. It was always kind of trying to understand, where could this technology go? And we did a lot of things in real estate, but I started to realize that right around 2008, 2009, when the real estate market kind of went crash, that was a painful part of my life, because I lost $440,000 in about 1 week, personally.
Okay.
After you go through the good scotch, you then can only afford the cheap stuff, the blended scotch whiskey. And then when you kind of wake up from the fog, you say, okay, I got kicked off the horse, but the whole planet seems to kind of like be in the same boat with me, because of Wall Street and the banks that failed and all the greed and avarice that kind of happened over that land thing and all the real estate stuff. So I dusted myself off and said, well, what now? And I realized that if we looked at real estate as being the only thing that could use virtual reality, was going to be the mistake. So like any good investor, you kind of like to invest in several different horses, So I diversified my own portfolio by reinvesting in myself. I sold all my Kodak stock, the Rolex watch. I sold the Lexus. We had an insurance policy with a mortality death benefit. Sold that and put another $150,000 into the company, rebranded the company, went out to Apple Computer and hung out with a couple of sharp people. And we built what is now known as VPix. And when Steve Jobs went on the stage and announced the first generation iPad in January of 2010, we announced the first generation 360 software that works on the first generation iPad. Wow. So for us, it was really like we rode the tsunami wave. I mean, Steve shocked the entire planet with a piece of technology that was going to transform literally every type of business application that you can possibly think of, with an immersive piece of glass that looks like it came up with a Star Wars or a Star Trek movie set. And that fascinated me. And I said, how do we end up doing the same thing? So by going back out to Apple Computer and hanging out with some sharp developers, we were able to build, VPix on a bar napkin. Went back, hired the right engineers. And the next, the week after the announcement, we got our first phone call from a very large hotel group that turned into a $379,000 contract. And they needed all 109 of their flagship hotels photographed with VPix. And then we connected them, to VFM Leonardo and SiteMinder. And platforms that most people don't understand, but it's a lot of database programming to be able to get the hotel rooms, out to people so they can see what their room looks like before they book it. And then we got a phone call from the FBI. And I thought, am I in trouble? No. We want to know if we can buy 2 of your servers. Oh, okay. So FBI has 2 of our servers running in Quantico. Okay, what are you guys doing? Crime scene simulations. Oh, okay, here you go. And that was a challenge because we had to go through a bunch of security, to install our software remotely.
Right.
And it was fun. We picked up one success after another. So I realized that through all the pain and all the anguish in losing $450,000, drinking a bunch of cheap scotch, feeling sorry for myself for 2 weeks was okay. But then I got back on the horse and said, that's not who I am. I will not let my past define me. And I went back in and tried to fix things, and we did. So rest is history.
Yeah. Wow. Well, beautiful story. Like, thank you for sharing. I think it's so valuable for all of us to hear that, you know what, there are times when we're not winning and it feels terrible. And it's like, what did I just do? I just made all these mistakes. I'm supposed to be the smart person. It really challenges how we see ourselves and our identity. But it's fluid. I mean, just like there are going to be these valleys, there's also going to be these peaks of our experience in business. And the most important thing is really, like you said, to just keep going. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to give blanket advice right now to like bet the farm like you did, go all in. But it's really amazing to hear that story when you believe something so much, when you're so committed to creating, the next success, the next big hit, that it really can be made. And that's your evidence.
It can be, but you need mentors. I had some good friends. One of my good friends was Carl Baer. He's a professor, was teaching up at the university in Boston. And he would fly occasionally back from Boston to Albuquerque. And he was the friend I reached out to. And I said, I just lost a whole bunch of money here. He says, how are you holding up? I said, not too good. So he said, I'll be up there tomorrow. And, I told him my story and said, I can't quit. But the mountain that's facing me is just so huge. I want to get back on the horse here, but I just need a friend to talk to. And he said, you got a checkbook? I said, yeah, what do you mean? You want a check? No, you need a check. I didn't understand what he was saying. And he said, just get your checkbook and get me a cup of coffee. All right. So I got Carl a cup of coffee and I sat down and said, what am I doing? He said, I want you to write yourself a check. For what? Not now, but 12 months from now. Write down a check, not something too huge, but not something too small. But that, I want you to write that check. Don't tell me what the amount is. And I want you to fold it, put it in your wallet. Every time you go to Safeway, you are going to see that check. That will be the visual reminder that says you will not quit. And if I don't quit, I'm going to cash this check in 12 months. And that's going to be my reward. So setting up your own carrot, setting up your own stick was something that he did. And I never told him what the amount was. And 12 months later, actually 11 months, 2 weeks later, I was able to cash that check. And that check was for $125,000. So had it not been for Carl to help me refocus, I could have zigged and zagged, and maybe I could have, given up. But, having mentors, people who really are your friends and people who really care about you as a human being can help you get through some tough times. We're all going to have them. Mm-hmm. And whether you have a big business or a small business, you're going to have some disappointments. You're going to have some opportunities. And I think the thing that you have to realize is when we leave this planet, we all have to face, how did my life turn out? And it's really not so much the successes we tend to look at so much as we regret the things where, why didn't I try a little harder? Why didn't I just stick with it for a few more days? And that's the thing. You follow your heart. And for me, that's what I was doing. I'm all about photography, but I was really facing my own demons. And when you have a friend and a mentor to pull you through, that can make the difference between, did you actually achieve your success, or did you kind of fall back on your fears and kind of settle for a life of being mediocre. And for me, mediocrity wasn't the option. Failure was not an option.
Yeah. I love that story. I've also been instructed, like, at times when you're feeling like scarce, right? That resources are scarce, that I need to like hold on to what I have because I might lose more. To keep a few $100s of cash in my wallet, because we don't have cash around. Like, money is so weird now. We're using cards, or I'm using my phone to pay for things all the time. Like, we don't have, it's not as tangible. And so when I have moments of feeling scarce, I have several $100s in my wallet. So if you see me out on the street, don't rob me, but I have it because to serve as a reminder of, like, I have more than enough. I have created this money. I will create more money. It might be a down week. I might have like lost a contract, or, had an opportunity not show up the way I thought it would, but it will come. And here's proof. Like, here's proof that I have it, that I've been able to generate it before. I'll be able to generate it again. But I love the check idea. So whoever's, if you're watching this right now and you're having the same experience, get your checkbook out, write yourself a big check, and put the date on it for 12 months from now and see what happens. I love the energy that creates. That's pretty cool, Bart.
It's all about focus.
It is about focus. You mentioned early on that it wasn't all perfect, that there have been some failures. And this is the part of the show that is the very reason why I have eye openers for us to create some breakthroughs and some insights around what were those challenging moments, maybe what are some challenging moments now, to remind all of us that even super successful entrepreneurs have challenges that they've overcome, or failures that help guide the next step, and that we don't have to struggle with that alone. So what was a key failure that informed the next step, or that you guys eventually worked through, that has provided insight for you?
I think something that everyone can resonate with is COVID-19. I think that caught everybody by surprise last year. And we were no stranger, to that fear, interpretation, concerns, despair, what's going to happen. And you have all kinds of things that kind of race, through your head when you find out that, well, I can't really keep driving back and forth to my shared office in Denver. So, this whole work from home thing is not such a bad idea, because I've been doing it for the last 18 years or so. But the COVID thing really caught everybody by surprise. And having to basically take, half the stuff we had and bring everything home. So I have a really super nice lake house over here on Lake Woodmore. And I turned this one really nice room with a great view of Pikes Peak. You can see the chapel, from the Air Force Academy Chapel from where I'm sitting. And it's peaceful here, so I had a lot of time to be inspired, by my environment. But I was concerned about customers. I was concerned would I have to be issuing pink slips? Would I have to refinance my house? How am I going to survive COVID? And I thought about that. I just said, well, we'll just take it one day at a time. And right around April 1st, 15th timeframe, I noticed that the phone calls were getting a little bit scary good. And I have a HubSpot for my CRM. I would look back in there one day and say, holy smokes, 218 leads in one day? What's going on? So one of the things that I found a few months after that is the COVID whole thing, especially in real estate, brought in so much opportunity, because real estate agents weren't able to take people and show homes, including commercial properties. And it's interesting because we had a whole bunch of real estate agents that said, hey, you guys do virtual tours. How easy is to use your cameras? Well, they're not our cameras. You can use Ricoh Theta, Insta360. We're camera agnostic. We'll just teach you how to use it. Here's the software. Here's the subscription. And we were signing up order after order after order after order. And it's like, business got good. So for us, it was that scary aha moment going, I was really thinking things were going to be bad, when actually the opposite was true. We actually were accelerated from COVID, and we started doing things with Zoom, and things really kind of blew up for us in a very, very nice way. But the problem that created that whole thing was it's eclipsed our ability to service the demand. We still have, right now, I checked about 4,200 leads in our CRM, and I don't have enough people to, get people onboarded and trained and sold. It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a nice problem to have, but it's still a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem. So based on what you're seeing right now, that pivot that you guys had to make, what do you see as your, what you want to create in the next 3 years? So if we decided to do another episode 3 years from now, what do you want to achieve that you would be so excited to share with us here on the show? What does it look like in November 2020?
It's an easy visual. I have basically two 3x5 white cards, and they're attached to my refrigerator. They're attached to my mirror. They're attached over here to the wall. And they're just two things. One, we have to obviously get some working capital. We're doing our A round, right now. And that's just, for 4 or 5 million. And we're going to bring on some more people, because you have to have the money first, and then you get the good people. And those people, CSM, CSRs, salespeople, some engineers, and some folks that maintain the servers for us at Rackspace, has to be the next evolution, because that's the bottleneck. The bottleneck is I have so many deals in the pipeline right now, and the bottleneck is how do we take the cork out? And the cork is, well, we have to have more people. So for us, it's our first A round. We've been bootstrapped, since day one. We've never had to do an A round. But now we're excited to do, that A round. And that's going to be 3 years from now. We'll probably have around 36 to 45 people. Everyone will be a shareholder, because we are an employee-owned organization. And we have a lot of nice people that work here. We've been hiring people this year, like Ann Pisano, who's my wingman. She is our customer success manager, and half the success we've achieved this year is actually her credit, not mine.
Wow. Very cool. So you have disruptive thinking. You think about what's next. You think about utility beyond like what's obvious. And so at the same time, we underestimate what we can do. We overestimate what we can do in a year. We underestimate what we can do in 3. So I'm going to challenge you to expand upon that 3-year vision for a second. And when we think about more macro beyond how many people are going to be in your organization and having a killer customer service team, because that's a given. Like, you're already on that path. We can already trace that from A to B, right? What's the less obvious thing that you want to create in the next 3 years?
Well, I think the less obvious thing that people tend to kind of articulate, but they only do it out of frustration, is really nobody likes to be sent to the Sisters of Voicemail Mercy when someone needs customer service. And for me, I think that's one of the less obvious things that you don't see in a pitch deck. You don't really see it in a go-to marketing plan. But when you really boil it down, we're not a company here that focuses on price. Anybody can do that. We tend to tell people that we're focusing on a relationship, and I can't put a price on that. And that relationship isn't so much of throwing more technology, with people. People are fed up with Facebook. People are fed up with WhatsApp or this or LinkedIn and all these other things. How do I reach a human being? I have a phone call. I want to reach Bart. I want to reach Ann. I want to reach Dave. I want to reach these people. And I think the thing that it's the road less traveled, but you don't realize how much of an impact that human connection can be when I have a toll-free phone number. It's on our website. I give you my cell phone number. And when you have a relationship with BPIX, you have a whole bunch of team people here that are dedicated to your success. But we don't work for consumers. We work for companies. And when you focus on that relationship building, it tends to come back to you in spades. The relationships we have with people mean more to me than what we get from the paycheck. It's about solving someone else's problem. And part of that problem is how fast can I reach you when I need to articulate that problem. Yeah, I'm still going to set up, an appointment calendar. We're going to do a Zoom session here on Tuesday at 2 p.m. But how fast were you able to reach me? Very fast. I mean, I've had people who send out an email and they just asked a few questions. And I sit at my desk, I bring my, cup of coffee, and I see there's a phone number on it. When you have a phone number, what do? You don't just put it off and send them an email. That's how you lose the sale. You pick up the phone and you call that person. Sometimes I call these people back in 3 minutes and they go, wow, that was fast. And I'm saying, well, actually, I'm calling to apologize. I had to get another cup of coffee. I would have called you back in 30 seconds, but it took me 3 minutes to get back from the kitchen. And, the humor is so amazing because it's like, wow, you're real people over there. I said, yeah. I said, I wasn't a stand-up comic, but maybe in my next life I might be. But, yeah, you have to like people, because when you remove the technology, remove everything else, you have to like working with people. And we do. But we also, unfortunately, have to tell people that I don't think we're a fit, because, you're looking for a consumer, piece of software. But we don't really have those conversations anymore. So to answer that question, I think very clearly is it's really the communications thing, I think, that nobody really thinks about, but it's so meaningful because it helps you build a relationship and that one-on-one connection that everyone talks and dreams about. But we tend to obfuscate through technology. It's like, well, I can reach you through Facebook. I can reach you through Instant Messenger. No. Let's have a phone call, Mia. Let's get on Zoom. Let's talk for a few minutes. How can I help you? And the nice thing about having Zoom is it feels natural, and it allows us to kind of talk about, hey, how's your dog? How are things going? How's the software? Yeah, I mean, how's the software? It's not all about business, it's about relationships, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're lucky, to have big customers like Choice Hotels, SAP. SAP picked us up a couple months ago. They're huge. But we have one-on-one relationships with these people. And I look forward to the next time we talk to them. But we solve problems over here. But if it weren't for our philosophy in telling people that you can reach us, and when we say that you have a dedicated team, we don't pay lip service to that. You have a dedicated team. But unfortunately, I have to have some more people now because, we're all running out right now. Yeah, that's the rub. We can't get done anymore.
I love what I hear is so much values in that, right? You can feel VPix's values, your personal values, your leadership values in all of that. And that is ultimately what drives people's buying decision, right? When they feel like, hey, these people get me. I'm a real person. I have a real problem. They see that and they are, working hard to be the comprehensive solution for that, not just like a one size fits all. This is all we do, like buy it or get away. There's nothing that is more frustrating than not being able to find a customer service phone number or like even an email or a way to get in touch with the company that you're using their product or their software or their service. It's almost like disrespectful, I feel. And so what you have done is we said, we're going to do the opposite of that. We're going to be the best damn customer experience you've ever had. And we're going to dedicate a team. I mean, that speaks to me so much. And you said, people don't pay attention to some of this. And you actually like found the person who pays the most attention to human relationship building and communication. That's what I do for organizations. But you're right. So many people are missing the power of it and really the nuance under it. It cannot be these pre-made scripts. It can't be that. And one of the best examples of this is Zappos customer service. I'm sure you're familiar with Tony Hsieh and what they built, and that they literally are scored on with these personal conversations and the quality of it, and like how much time the customer spent like talking with you about their favorite Netflix show or whatever it is outside of the problem that they're solving. And I just thought, what an interesting metric to aim for. That the connection that was happening outside of the problem you were solving. It's a beautiful thing. And in this world go ahead.
No, I just wanted to interject. It's funny that you mentioned Zappos because, part of our core values and philosophy was really modeled for Tony. And the fact that, I'm only buying one pair of shoes, but, I may have spoken to the sales rep for 30 minutes And it wasn't all about shoes. It may have been about, hey, how's the weather in California? And,
Yeah.
talk about going down to Skomas, and having some great, seafood or a bottle of wine and stuff. But it's about the relationship building, and you have customers for life. We have our first 3 customers we ever had 21 years ago. They're still with us today. I don't know many companies that can say that. And as I've looked to, outside, of our organization, I've always felt that there has to be other customer centric people that, don't just, say we do customer service and you find out you end up getting customer circus. Nobody wants that. And when you start looking at other companies that have no phone number, or, they don't really treat their customers very well because they're morally bankrupt and their compass doesn't point north, that's just really not a great way to build, good customer relationships. And people tend to backlash and they put horrible things about the service that they received online. We don't have any complaints. I don't even have a single complaint with the Better Business Bureau. And I think because of our customer centric forward, philosophy is one of the reasons why Entrepreneur Magazine recognized us, as being an innovator, in this space. And the fact that we have a 214th ranked best company in America, I cherish that award. I have it over here on my wall and I look at that every day and I'm going, we worked our butts off for that award. And I'm hoping we get the another award, next year when they put the program back in place. But yeah, customer service, Zappos, there was a lot for us to learn. And I hope we're doing a good job. I hope I meet Tony one day and says, hey, you guys are kind of like us. Yeah, we just don't sell shoes. We sell cameras and we sell software solutions for folks who need 360, in their business.
Yeah.
So it's a real digital media strategy.
Well, you won't be able to meet him because he passed away last year, but you'll be able to meet a new chief who is carrying on the legacy. So I guarantee, without knowing this about you personally, but I guarantee that the way that you've gotten to this place in your business where you're winning these kinds of awards, is recognized as one of the best companies, is because you've taken moments to look at vulnerabilities and maybe areas of development in your business. And based on what we're talking about right now, which is where you want to see yourself or see the company in 3 years, and the opportunity that's within that, which we just talked about through customer service, relationship building, what is an area of vulnerability as the company exists today? Like, what's the gap in either skill set or where you're at right now in order to get there? What's the challenge?
Probably change. I mean, there's so many new things that come out, and some are breakthroughs and some are me too. Not really important, but when you get into transformative technologies like taking 3D and making it simple, and everybody wants it. I think the vulnerability is we're not really keeping pace, with the demand for the product, because we are different than other companies that are out there. We're not consumers. We're not the kind of company that'll show you how to use a Ricoh Theta or an Insta360 point and shoot consumer camera. There are plenty of companies out there who can do that, but our vulnerability spot is really not recognizing that things are going to shift. There are going to be some pivots, but it's going to be based on how fast can I take our software and customize it so that it's something that Brittany wants to use in your business. And that's the one question that keeps me up at 2:00 in the morning going, do I have enough people to get the demand solved and get the services out the door? Because we're not a one size fits all. We are a company that provides a great deal of value, but when customers work with us, we're talking 2-3 year minimum SLAs. And then they keep renewing year after year because we keep earning their business. But we're a people-powered business. There's not everything I can do with robots and AI and automation. It's about basically companies' needs are going to change. We have to change with them. So when they pivot from, say, what they're selling in spring to what they're selling, say, in the summer or fall, sometimes that's going to require a few more of my people to help them. Well, I got to help you basically create more demand, or we have to provide more services. But if I'm already tied up, working for other customers, some of our current customers can suffer. And that's the part that scares me. That's the part that keeps me up, is that's the vulnerability is. We are a people powered company. We're not a software powered company. So that's the part that scares me.
So growth,
Yeah.
onboarding, training, keeping the talent that you already have, right? I mean, we're in the middle of the great resignation, and it is definitely something that I know clients I work with are thinking about and sometimes worrying about. My friend Ben asked a question. Hi, Ben. It's so good to see you on here. What's the most important natural characteristic you look for in someone to handle customer relations with your company? Outside of natural, what skills do you train people to have on top of those characteristics? So 2 parts. Natural characteristics you train.
Attitude. Attitude really is the one thing that's really going to get you from here to there. And we like to promote people who continually work to not only improve their own communication skills, but it's kind of rare, but exciting for me as the founder to say, I talked to a customer and said, oh yeah, you know that Ann, she really helped me through that problem last week. I wanted to say thank you. It's really the gratitude we end up hearing is the nice little accolades that I get from customers that say my attitude of gratitude and helping those customers is really important. So that's really kind of, I would say, the most important thing that I tend to look towards. And then the second part of your question, would you repeat that?
Sure. What skills do you train people to have on top of that natural characteristic, which is attitude?
Problem solving. I mean, problem solving / communication really has to go hand in hand. When you work with customers, you don't really know what their technology skills are or are not. And I never tell anyone, look, this person is dumber than a box of rocks. That's how you lose prospects pretty fast. So what we do is we meet and we talk to basically our staff, and we say, okay, how did the week go? Because on Monday, we have a Monday Matters meeting. And then on Friday, we have a Financial Fridays. And it's kind of a postmortem. We dissect the whole week and we look back at, well, how did this go this week? Well, we had a bunch of interesting phone calls and people were looking for this solution or looking for, do you work with this camera? Do you work with this? Can we connect you to this? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, okay, great. But we use the Tony Robbins kind of DISC method. And I want to really kind of understand, well, is that person going to be direct? Are they assertive? How are their mannerisms? Because we're building a relationship with these people. So we want to kind of put some checkpoints in here that say, okay, who do we need to supply? Kind of like this 2-person team. It's like the hockey stick. It's like a hockey team because you got one guy explaining, here's how everything's going to work for the customer. And I need a technical salesperson to kind of like hit that puck into the net. And that's the conversation I have to have with one of the customers, other employees, or sometimes it's a contractor, because I got to hook up, the VPix or Motor Street content 3D to your website. Integration. Right. So you have to ask those customers, how geeky can I get in this conversation? And we find out, well, not too geeky. So, okay, so I won't put my propeller hat on for this conversation. So let's just talk about what do you need? How fast do you need it? And then let me ask some more questions. And then when I follow up with those people, again, it's about communications. And I like to teach this stuff to people. So for me, answering your second question is really you have to have good problem solving skills. A sense of humor is always a benefit. But you also have to be able to understand that that person you're talking to may not be able to give you the technical things we have to do the connection. And that's called the integration. It's like if I gave mom, a website and said, Mom, go to Zap. What's Zap? What's an integration site, Mom? It's where you connect basically all your photographs, from your iPhone to the Wilson, webpage. She would look at me as if I had 3 heads. She would have no clue how to do any of this stuff. So I have to say, Mom, there's a little kid down the street. He does HTML programming. Billy, can you get him on the phone, please? I'm going to talk to him. So it's kind of like that. You say, pretend you're talking to your mom, be respectful, throw some humor out there, But there's someone in that organization who built your web page. Are they an employee? No, they're a contractor. Okay, well, let me talk to him or her. So once you put the pieces together, see, that's part of the problem solving. I've had people come to me, they just come back and they go, I don't know what to do. Well, maybe we need to find another position for you here at the company. So, I hate firing people, but, I try to bring people on board who are not like me, but they have that one skill. And again, with technology changing, it's like Firefox changes every 17 minutes? There's always another update to download. And it's like, seriously? But technology changes. So I need people who can solve problems. And if that person you're talking to doesn't know how to solve it, well, somebody does, but ask the questions politely, make some notes, follow up, put things on the board, log in the Trello, and make sure that the customer is happy. And as a bonus, can you teach the customer a little bit to say, hey, I know how to build web pages now, or at least I know the process of how to connect VPIC stuff to my website. And that's what's great, because the customer now feels like you brought them in and didn't treat them like a mushroom. I don't like to be in the dark on all these things. But some customers say, would you like to learn a few things? Yeah, it makes them a little bit more agile. So when they come to us next year and say, hey, Bart, we got to add some more things. Okay. But they kind of have a working knowledge of the moving parts. They know what to do. Right. So my people, if they have those skills, they come back to us in gold workers. I just love having those kind of people with problem solving skills, a little bit of humor, and the ability to kind of teach the customer, here's what we're doing. Get me the person I need to make this a win-win situation. And they do.
Right. So what I'm hearing is there's like an empathy component, a compassion, and a patience for the customer, right? And then within the problem solving, there's like a resourcefulness, or there's a desire, a motivation to kind of like bridge the gap there and solve the problem. And then there's a human relatability that they're able to pull through with the customer that helps them connect and like have that point of humor, or who can't relate to something like that, like having a little technology flub. So I love that they do that, and they don't make, you feel silly about it. Now, what do you think, you're asking for some seriously high functioning skill set there. In my line of work, that's somebody with a tremendous amount of EQ, like emotional intelligence, that can do that. So what is the thing that's going to hold you guys back or be that challenge as you grow and as you need to hire people who can perform in that way, in order to hold you under to your values? What is the challenge there for you? How do you train that?
They're very rare to find those types of skills, in any employee who interviews here, or person who interviews to become an employee. So what we look for is really the passion. We look for the sense of humor. We look for people who are liking to work with other people, and we can train. We've been good trainers, and for me, it's really about recognizing the spark exists in somebody. And I always like to ask, this is the one question I ask a lot. And it really kind of gives me an idea of, is this person going to be a long-term asset, or should we even extend an offer to them? And during our conversations, I always ask this one question. It's hypothetical. I ask, what's more important to you, Brittany? Is it going to be two icons? I have the clock, I have the compass. Which one of these two icons do you associate with more? And it's an interesting thing that Tony Robbins has kind of brought up from a couple of occasions, because and Stephen Covey, Principled Leadership Skills, couple books out there. It's an important question when you're looking at people skills, because if the person says, I am more inclined towards the clock, they're really just kind of looking to be the 9-to-5er, and this is not a 9-to-5 job, so we 90% of the times, we never make an offer to people who identify, with the clock. People identify with the compass are going to be the people who are more patient, because the whole universe will guide them towards the direction they're going. And that's important for us, because we have ethics and we have a philosophy here that I want to basically go this direction. I'm not so concerned how fast we get there. I'm more concerned with the direction we're going, because when you bring people who are very principled, and they also understand the mission of the company and they buy into that vision, they're going to be in the same wheelhouse with us because we're all focused on the direction we're going. I don't have to worry about 3 or 4 people here going, are we there yet? I got to go. Are we there yet? And it's like, that's not really the person we need, because the last time I checked, the internet never sleeps. Does it?
Yeah.
Okay. I used to remember growing up, the TV, 2:00 in the morning, you would have this poem, and you'd have this pilot flying, and I reached out and touched the hand of God, and then TV went off the air. Everything's 24 hours today. So, we don't work our people to death, but sometimes our people do need help on weekends, and sometimes it's help on evenings. But that's the direction. We have to be able to be staffed to help people, to be able to go that direction and help them. So if we have people here focused on the clock, they don't tend to really, be part of the team. They tend to be more self-centered and not really focused on the company as a family unit. So we find that after hiring those people, we found that Clock and Compass has been a really, really good way of us identifying who those people are going to be that are going to be, not only employees today, but they're people who want to stay with us, and we want to give them, stock and ownership. We all have employee owners. Everyone owns stock in this company, and identifying them is really easy if we ask that one question: what's more important to you? Clock, Compass.
I love that. And what a great visual to end on, and really a reflection question to ask yourself. Like, what are you focused on right now? For those of you in the audience watching and kind of thinking about how does this pop up in your business? I definitely know differences that I can see in myself over time when I was just focused on getting stuff done and the way I showed up versus when I was really there for the long haul and seeing something through and saying, I'm figuring this out, and that's the compass. So thanks for sharing that. That's a really beautiful, sentiment. So Bartley, where can people find you and how can they engage with VPix, with the other stuff you're up to?
I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, Bartley Wilson, but, vpix360.com. If you're an automotive, kind of a company or a buff, MotorStreet360.com. That's, we've broken ourselves up into 2 departments, but it's one company. And, we find that there's a lot of companies out there that really, really associate with either the real estate side, or property management. That's the VPix side. And if you're automotive, wholesale, retail, construction, it's Motor Street.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Eye Openers today. I certainly had, beyond my coffee, had my eyes open with your story about really relating with the customer and connecting that way. That was awesome. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for coming. And I will make sure that all your contact information is in the show description so people can reach out to you if they have questions. Lots of realtors in this audience, so hoping that they can connect with you guys. If you guys have any questions and you're not watching this live, please just feel free to throw them into the chat, and I will make sure that you guys get connected, get your questions answered. So thanks again for watching, everybody, and until next time, have a great week. Thanks for joining us this week on Eye Openers. Make sure to visit BrittanyDrose.com/podcast for this week's show notes. And if you found value in today's episode, I would so appreciate you giving us a rating on Apple Podcasts or share it with a friend. Also, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. This all helps to support the show.